Hello everybody, welcome. I'm No02. I got here for you a build order that allows you to cut some corners. We're going to be taking advantage of the airborne battle group, not the spam pathfinders, but for us to make decisions about how we tech up. Essentially, we can skip tier 2, we can technically skip tier 3, because the airborne battle group ends up solving a lot of the USF's problems as far as dealing with early armor, or preparing for like a Whirlwind timing, or a Rad 8 timing and things like that. Check in the description, 2 links. One to a replay where I use this particular build order, and we'll talk about more in depth the actual decision making for the build order, and then also a link to a little noob to mastery video where I play this particular build order just casually through some games and sort of get a real feel for what this build order sort of looks like, what the issues are, the downfalls are, and we'll get to that all towards the end of the video here. So USF Airborne. This is an aggressive opener. The whole idea, as you can imagine, by it being called fast bar, is that we want to get the bar as quickly as possible. Riflemen have the ability to suppress enemy infantry, and we want to get there as quickly as possible. So we're going to be getting the ISC, the Infantry Support Center, and the bar upgrade as quickly as possible, because the more damage your infantry does, the faster they vet up. And that's sort of a big bulk of it here. But Airborne here, really important concept. We build the scout first, and then you click the button that transforms your scouts into pathfinders. That will save you 15 manpower on building your second pathfinder. Feels good, man. But you build the scout, upgrade the pathfinder. Now we got 2 pathfinders, and there's they're so strong. We don't want to spam them though. We want those sort of more flexibility of the rifles. I don't want to do the spam. Build the barracks, build 3 riflemen right out the gate, and as you're sort of done with your 3rd rifleman, they'll be sitting pretty around 30 fuel, and you'll get your ISC. Then you will consider paratroopers or a 4th rifleman. I will highly advise you to get that 4th rifleman. The only thing that we're really worried about at this point with this particular build order is enemy armor, particularly light armor. So paratrooper, I would say like almost automatically, versus DAC. You pick up the paratrooper because we can upgrade it with the bazookas. But if it seems like your opponent is just matching you infantry for infantry, consider a 4th rifleman. But that will significantly delay this paratrooper, and you run the risk of like a flak truck showing up or some sort of light vehicle. Not the biggest deal versus the Wehrmacht. I would say even versus the Wehrmacht, if they go Luftwaffe, you can pretty much do the rifle, because we know a lot of the times that they're just trying to hit a big old fat juicy timing with the Whirlwind. But if we keep the pressure on them, we keep damaging them, we keep eating through their manpower, we can delay that pretty significantly and get our other upgrades first and then the paratrooper. But that's sort of like the big focal point, like the first big decision that you have to make is understanding, can we skip the paratrooper because the rifleman will be better in the short term, because we'll get the bar upgrade. So once we spend our 30 fuel on the ISC, the next 40 fuel goes right into the bar. As soon as you hit that 40 fuel, you want to be sort of hitting that bar upgrade as quickly as possible. And what's really nice about this is that towards the end of the bar upgrade, as it's about to finish, you should be pretty close to 15 fuel, get the munition surplus upgrade from the ISC. This will make it so that, one, we can use our Pathfinder's abilities more regularly. Again, 2, we have 3 to 4 riflemen. Their suppressing fire, their poured on them ability will cool down faster. But also, 2, keep in mind we got Pathfinders with the scout, with the rifle grenades. We got to upgrade 3 to 4 riflemen with bars as quickly as possible. And we have the paratrooper who we're going to want to get bazookas on. So we actually have a lot of opportunity to burn munitions for quite some time. So getting the munitions surplus, basically halves our cost for all of those bar upgrades. It's quite nice. It's like a really nice power spike. The bar is a power spike, and then like the double bar really quickly followed up because we have the munitions to do so with the munitions surplus. So really awesome, really super powy in there, right in the kisser, a sort of power spike here. A lot of fun. For the most part, this looks like rifleman spam. But what's really important about this is that the riflemen, at this point now, once they're vetted up, once they got their double bar, they beat so many enemy infantry. Your opponent will be forced to blob up at a lot of the times. We can suppress them. It's like a huge power spike, very aggressive. From there, we just have lots of infantry, so we need to get the med tent up to help with our manpower bleed, because we do want to eventually tech up from here, because very much so, we don't want to rely on the paratrooper forever for warding off enemy armor. It's not the easiest thing. It's very micro intensive. You need to be very smart about your paratrooper, its positioning, as far as it fighting a Rat 8 or fighting an enemy light vehicle with range, right? The Caro Tomato, right? It's just, it can be a real pain, and so much hinges on a paratrooper being successful at warding off enemy armor. One thing to consider too, though, is with the manpower bleed, is do you get advanced logistics? Do you delay the motor pool by another 50 fuel to get advanced logistics or not? I'll leave that up to you. And you'll see in the games, in the links in the description, how we, I think in one of them we don't get advanced logistics before the motor pool, and one of them we do at some point, or maybe we do. I would highly recommend looking at advanced logistics, though, and considering sort of like, are we worried about armor yet? Are we worried about enemy vehicles? Because here's another really important thing about the airborne division, is that we can paradrop an anti-tank weapon team, right? The field cannon. So again, we can still technically, with the airborne division, technically sort of skip tier 3 as well, if you are going to paradrop a anti-tank weapon. And then you have those two things, the paratrooper and the anti-tank weapon. So it's up to you, use your preference. But if things are sort of going really well, you're taking a lot of good fights, you got control of maybe an extra manpower, a strategic point or something like that, use the motor pool. And again, too, like, this is all about, like, we need to win fights. We're investing in the early game, so we need to be winning in the early game. And keep in mind, too, with munition surplus, we can potentially be popping off grenades with more often. I would say, in general, with this build, we almost value munitions more than fuel to an extent, because we have so much opportunity to bleed manpower and spend our manpower. We get a lot of value out of it because we have 4 riflemen potentially. Because you can even get a 4th rifleman in between 6 and 7, get advanced logistics, and then a 4th rifleman, things like that. So as far as like burning our munitions, tons and tons and tons of opportunity to do so, especially with the airborne reinforceability and things like that. It can be huge potential for swings and things like that. Otherwise, though, build the motor pool, start building chaffies, and that's about it. That's the build order. The only real concerns here is you need to be winning early game. You need to sort of line up your capture order in a way that your 2 pathfinders and a rifleman sort of meet up and sort of encounter the enemy and win a fight, and then take something for that fight, preferably a big munitions point or an enemy manpower point and things like that. A lot of opportunity for manpower bleed, so you need to be quick on the retreat button. If you got a squad in a bad situation, get them out of there. When it comes to dealing with enemy weapon teams, like a heavy machine gun will probably be a somewhat common response to them seeing you with 3 to 4 riflemen. The pathfinders are key to smoking them off or getting a flank and rifle grenading them and things like that. Keep in mind too that the paratrooper, the satchel charge, is crazy powerful. We got the in one of the games, we got like a double kill with a satchel because they're desperately trying to heal a tank mid fight. And keep in mind that if you can get a flank with a paratrooper on a weapons team and you throw that satchel down and they don't hit the retreat button quickly enough, it's just an instant kill. It's a free kill, essentially, right? So this is all about the straight up running at the enemy, taking good fights, burning our munitions to win those fights more decisively. The more decisively win those fights, we get more stuff, we get more manpower, we get to stave off the bleed, the faster we tech up. And I label this as a skip tier 2 because it's just, in most instances, I just feel more comfortable building a chaffee than relying on the para-dropped anti-tank team. But we can also technically skip tier 3 as well and go right up to the tank factory, start pumping out Shermans or a Hellcat or something like that. But really fun, aggressive build order here. Check out the games. Check out the games in the description. There's some juicy games in there. Someone who tries to Luftwaffe spam us gets very mad at us. It's good fun. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what you think of this build order. How are you guys dealing with early game early game issues with the USF? How do you guys get an advantage early game, but also then deal with enemy light armor threats? Because I feel like that's where the USF is a little shaky. Because our only early game options for enemy armor are a bazooka squad or the M375 millimeter motor carriage, and that vehicle is pretty janky. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the future.